All right, is everybody ready? Good evening, everyone. This is the regular board meeting for February 17th, 2015. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Reading of the mission statement. Mr. Reyer?
The mission of the School District of Springfield Township is to educate and develop all students as learners and citizens who are high-achieving, resilient, responsible in a changing global community.
Roll call.
Mrs. Casales. Mr. Lapidus.
Here.
Mr. Reyer. Here. Mr. Richardson. Ms. Sarsfield.
Here.
Ms. Schultz.
Here.
Dr. Taratuski. Mr. Taylor. Here. Ms. Linsky.
Here. Announcements. The board, at its discretion, may videotape all or any portion of public board meetings subject to the limitations set forth in Policy 006.2, Broadcasting of Meetings. Board meetings will be broadcast on Friday afternoon following the board meeting. Are there any public comments on agenda items? Approval of minutes. January 20th, 2015, regular meeting, board minutes K. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Lapidus.
Yes.
Mr. Reyer. Yes. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Ms. Linsky.
Aye. Approval of treasurer's report. Treasurer's report G. Is there a motion?
Motion. Second.
Questions or comments? Mr. King?
Mr. Lapidus.
Yes.
Mr. Reyer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Ms. Linsky.
Aye. Reports and information. I don't believe that there's anyone here from the PTA. I don't believe there's anyone here from the Student Council. So we'll move to the committee report, Academic Affairs Committee. Dr. Karen Taratuski is not with us this evening, so I believe it will be Mr. Ray.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Linsky. Well, I was very excited to chair my first meeting of the Academic Affairs Committee. That was a ton of fun. And we discussed three primary items. Dr. Hacker, could you help me with the date, please?
February 10th.
Thank you, Dr. Hacker. We believe February 10th we met at 5:30 p.m. We discussed three primary matters. First was the discussion of adding extra courses and curriculum to the high school by supplementing and not changing or taking away any roles for staff, but to add virtual courses that students could take when they had interests in areas outside the traditional curriculum. So for example, courses in languages that we don't teach at the school now, or languages in particular interests that children had, that we'd be adding that to the high school, and I thought that was a terrific idea. Second, we talked about the high school course guide, and in particular we talked about trying to make our course guide more user-friendly. So rather than it feeling to a child who might be looking at it saying, should I take this class? Oh no, I can't do it, it's too tough for me. That it becomes more of a place that we talk about how it could be inviting and a challenge worth taking. So we're not trying to put students in classes they can't handle, but at the same time, if you were to look at our course guide from a few years ago, you would say, it tells you all the things you can't do and shouldn't do and can't do unless you are able to do this to be in a class, and we've sort of changed that to be more positive, and we think that's a great step. Because what we're trying to do is continue to get more students in Springfield High School to take more and more challenging honors and AP courses. So that's one step that we talked about. And then third, we talked about a really interesting co-teaching model for special education that will start in high school next year. So we'll be piloting having a special education teacher and a regular classroom teacher teaching together and creating an inclusion environment for special education students and regular ed students. So the idea is that all students will benefit from being in the same classroom together, and they'll also have a smaller class size and a more substantial teaching force working with them, a teacher who understands content, but also special education and knows how to personalize learning, and a general education teacher who can support that learning. So we're pretty excited about trying that pilot for a number of reasons. And Dr. Roseman talked with us in great detail about what the pilot will look like and some of the places they've been visiting to try and learn more about as they tried to do that. So it was a terrific meeting, and we welcome the public to all future meetings. Thank you.
I stand corrected. The meeting was February 3rd. We've had a lot of meetings this month. It's hard to keep them all straight.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Rayer on any of Property Committee report, James Taylor.
Good evening. We had our meeting on Thursday, February the 5th, and we talked about a few things. The first was the long-term capital improvements projects. We had an updated list of capital projects that was reviewed for the 2015 summer projects. Some of the larger projects were the administrative building, HVAC replacement, high school roof replacement above the library, the Erdenheim cafeteria expansion, and the bus garage fuel tank renovation. We also talked about retaining the engineers for development. A tentative timeline for each project has been drafted for the bid process to take place by April. And we had the funding process explained by Ken King. The second thing we talked about, which I already mentioned, was the Erdenheim cafeteria expansion project. The architect was hired on January the 21st of 2015. The bidding documents are to be completed by March 17th of 2015. And we had the community forum meeting on Thursday, February the 12th. We also had a coordination of district and community use of facilities discussion. There's a lot of groups that are competing for our buildings and use of our fields. The custodial staff does spend time at the district setting up and cleaning up after each group usage. And outside group usage does affect some of our school programs, and we will do some further research as needed for district expenses for community usage. And that was about it. Well, we also had an executive session regarding Antonelli and the finalization of that.
And I also would like to note that we had a policy committee meeting on Monday, February 9th with Mrs. Sarsfield and Mr. Richardson present. And we actually reviewed, based on recommendations from the Pennsylvania School Boards Association, policies in section 000, 100, 200, and 300. Very minor changes, most of them no more than a sentence or two, or in some cases even some words or some numbered references. So we reviewed all of those changes.
Dr. Hacker, do you have any?
No, just to follow up on what Mr. Taylor said, we did have a meeting in the cafeteria at Erdenheim last Thursday, February 12th. Our architects were on hand to discuss the proposed addition and the design of that addition to Erdenheim Elementary School. And the boards that we used for the presentation are now on display over at Erdenheim for anyone who is interested. And of course, we hope that we can get some more public engagement in terms of that addition. And that's the purpose of having the boards over there before we get started.
Thank you. There are no items on the consent agenda, so we'll move on to new business. Personnel attachment. The recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the following personnel as presented in the attachment: certificated personnel, support personnel, temporary personnel, extra pay for extra responsibilities, conference workshop attendance. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments? Okay.
Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield. Aye. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Benson.
Aye. Number 2, budget transfer. The recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves budgetary transfers as attached in Treasurer's Report G. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? Any questions or comments? Mr. King?
Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield. Aye. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Pinsky.
Aye. Number 3, adoption of 2015-2016 preliminary budget. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors adopts the 2015-2016 preliminary budget and authorizes the administration to file for Act 1 exemptions. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Pinsky.
Aye. Number 4, bond resolution. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors approves the resolution authorizing the administration to work with Public Financial Management as financial advisor and Fox Rothschild LLP as bond counsel to prepare the necessary documents for refinancing the outstanding school district's general obligation bonds, Series AA of 2009, and general obligation bonds, Series A of 2010, and financing the cost of issuance of the bonds. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any questions or comments?
Mr. Lapidus. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Pinsky.
Aye. Number 5, policy approval. The recommended motion. The Board of School Directors accepts the PSBA recommended revisions to policies in sections 000, 100, 200, and 300 as approved by the Policy Committee. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any?
Just a comment. Will we be rescinding inconsistent policies simultaneously with this? I would just like the resolution to reflect that we are approving these new policies and any inconsistent resolutions will be rescinded by the district, because these are replacing existing policies.
Is everyone okay with that? And where are we on that? Do we?
Motion has been first and second.
Okay. So we can move on to the vote.
Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield. Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Pinsky.
Aye. Number 6, Springfield Soccer Club donation. Recommended motion. The Board of School Directors gratefully acknowledges receipt and acceptance of the donation made by the Springfield Soccer Club Youth Division in the amount of $500 for continued field maintenance at the locations used by the club. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Pinsky.
Aye. We will be adding a 7th agenda item, and I will turn it over.
I'm requesting that the board act on a resolution as follows. The Board of School Directors of the School District of Springfield Township hereby resolves that the students identified in its adjudication are not residents of the district. As a result, those students are hereby excluded and expelled from the School District of Springfield Township, and the students' names shall be removed from the rolls of any district school. We will need a motion and a second to approve that resolution as presented.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Oh, is there any questions or comments? Sorry.
Mr. Lapidus. Aye. Mr. Rayer. Aye. Ms. Sarsfield.
Aye.
Ms. Schultz.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor. Aye. Mr. Pinsky.
Aye. there any public comments on non-agenda items? Future meeting dates. School board meeting, Tuesday, March 17th, 2015, 7 p.m. in the Freeze Memorial Lobby. Interim board meeting, Tuesday, April 7th, 2015, 7 p.m. in the Freeze Memorial Lobby. I want to point out that we will not be having an interim meeting in March as we don't feel that we have a need for it. So our next meeting will be on March 17th. Yep. Have a good night, everyone.